This week we talk all about Mikuni carburetors and why I decided to install them on my Honda CB400.
I don't wanna stop at the casino. I don't wanna stop and see the broken lights. I wanna stay down your broken space. Don't wanna break down in your embrace. And I don't wanna go to an alley.
This week I thought I'd make a video about why I decided to install these Mikuni carburetors on my Honda CB400T. Now the main reason for the install was because I wanted to get my bike up and running, and I wanted to do that as fast as possible. Now back in 2010, I believe it was, I was really getting into motorcycles, trying to get into the whole cafe racer, bobber thing, and I wanted to build a bike and get it on the road. When I purchased this bike, believe it or not, I got this bike for about $200. And so I didn't want to take so long in rebuilding the carb, so I decided to just put something on there that was new and that would work out of the box. Of course, that really wasn't the case, but I was able to kind of get to a good starting point. Now, these carburetors I purchased from Dime City Cycles. At the time, they were about $140, I believe, for each. So yeah, I spent some money on these, but you know, they were new. And the main reason why I decided to buy these carburetors was because I figured, let me email Dime City Cycles and see if, you know, what carburetors I can put on this Honda CB400 that would work. So I can have a good starting point. You know, I'm gonna spend some money on these carburetors. I just wanna make sure that they work. And what was cool about that was that Herm from Dime City Cycles actually emailed me back personally, and he said, hey, you know what? I think you should go with some BM32s. I was actually psyched about that because I had been watching videos from Dime City Cycles, watching Herm actually work on motorcycles, and you know, I couldn't believe that he was emailing me back. And I was super young, super excited about getting into bikes, and I thought that was just the coolest thing ever. So, you know, I didn't think twice. He's telling me I should get those. He must be right, so I'm gonna go ahead and order those. So I went ahead and ordered them from their website, and they arrived shortly after, and I installed them on the bike. Now, did the bike run great? No. There was a couple of things I needed to change, and one of those things was the main jet. Now, these carburetors, you really have to understand how they work and how to jet the carburetors. They are very simple to work on. They really are very simple to work on, which I'll show you here in a bit. But you really need to understand how the jetting works and how to go about repairing them so that they fit your bike properly. Now, the pilot jet on them was fine. The bike was actually turning on and staying on, which was great. However, the part that really needed some help was the main jet. So all I did was order up a few more jets, try those out and see which ones, you know, work better with my motorcycle, and I finally got the right one. So yeah, it was really not that difficult to do. This install really didn't take a lot of time. I did have to have these intake boots, I guess you could call them, made, which are really cool and trick. So I took it to a local motorcycle shop and they made these for me. At the time when I was learning how to work on motorcycles, I didn't have the proper tools to do that. So I went ahead and took it to them. They made me these really cool metal kind of brackets here that hold the carb in place. And yeah, they work great. Now, I want to show you why I think they're so cool. Now, if you look at these carburetors, I kind of removed here, I'm using these pod filters. Now, you have to make sure that when you're tuning your carburetor, you tune it with whatever filter you're gonna run on there. These pod filters are brand new. I barely installed them on there because I had some other pod filters, but they were getting pretty gross and ugly. And so I just ordered these, and I ordered them in black, which kind of fits the bike. So, but I haven't really put any time on those. So the previous ones I had were kind of made from the same material, but had a different shape. They were more squared off. But the cool thing about these carburetors is that they're super easy to service, and you know, you can work on these carburetors fairly easy. Now, the ones that came on the motorcycle are like these. These are vacuum operated carburetors. So I have the lid here removed just to show you how these work. If you remove the lid here on these actuators or carb slides, I guess you could say, there's a spring in here, and this spring kind of holds the slide down, right? It kind of pushes it down to the closed position, as you can see here. But if we were to push the slide up, there's this diaphragm here that is operated by a vacuum, basically. So when you go ahead and work the throttle, which is right here, when you work that throttle, you cause vacuum to kind of push this slide up and therefore let more gas in from your main jet, and then of course you get more gas into your engine. As you can see, the carb slides right off. These are not the ones from this bike. These are from a Yamaha, I believe, from a Maxim, but the theory is the same. You know, the carburetors were the same. They worked under the same principle. So, you know, working on this when I was younger was really not an option. I didn't really understand them. I didn't really know what I was doing when it came to how to work on carbs. So, and I mean, I'm sure any Harley guy will tell you that, you know, whenever they're having problems with their motorcycles, you know, firing up and stuff, a lot of them move over to Mikuni carburetors because they're just so easy to work on. So that's the main reason why I got these carbs. I also got these carbs because they have what's called a round slide, right? These carburetors have this, you know, slide that goes up and down, and it meters the amount of air that goes into your engine, and they're round slides, right? So there's also flat slides, but those are more for like your high performance racing engines, and you can actually tune these a whole lot better, these a whole lot better than those flat slide carburetors. But again, one of the easiest things, or one of the reasons why I got these carburetors, was just the tunability of them. And let me show you what I mean. So if you come here, I have a fuel line here, which I took the fuel off. There was a little clamp here. Fuel just came out, spilled all over my hand. Anyways, so there was a little clamp here. I just took that clamp off, and you can move the fuel line off to the side. And as you can see, we have the choke here, which is a little lever that comes integrated to the carb itself. Now, if you're doing a custom motorcycle, yes, you could run a cable-driven choke up to your handlebars if that's what you want to do. I really don't know why you would do that, because, you know, having a choke here, the carburetor, really is all you need. Especially if you're building like a chopper or a cafe racer or a bobber, something where you have access to this general area, you don't need to run a cable operated choke all the way to your handlebars. You really don't need that. So having the choke here is perfect. So it's integrated, it's, you know, everything is contained in the carb itself, and it's perfect. Now, another reason why I like these, because you can tune them right here. You can tune your idle very easily from the side here. They have these adjusters here that kind of push your slide up or down to kind of adjust your idle. Yeah, it's super easy to work on. Now, I went ahead and already kind of undid this clamp here, but I'm just gonna slide these carbs out. Now notice, I took out the fuel line, which was the only thing really that I took out from, you know, the car being completely installed. And all I have to do now is just undo this screw here at the top of the carburetor. And this is our cover for our round slide. So I'm gonna go ahead and unscrew that. And as you can see, now we have our slide that just comes out and hangs on like that. And now we have our carburetor right here. Now this black tape, I only put this black tape so that I could get a good seal for my carb boot or my pod filter here, because it was a little bit too, the opening was a little bit too, or the opening was small or too big for this carburetor, I would say. But then once you put the clamp on, it clamps on fine. So I just added a little bit of tape to fill in. But as you can see, we have the Mikuni Carbs. You know, this is it. This is a carburetor. Obviously in this bike, it's a twin and there's two of them. You could maybe upsize to one carb and have one bigger carb for both intakes, but then you have to run a special intake, which is kind of cool too, because I've seen people run carburetors literally off to the side here with a pipe that kind of goes like this, and then they have their carb kind of like, you know, having like that ram air effect, I guess you can call it. And they just run them, you know, however they want. I believe his name is Fred Kruger. Yeah, I think he, I don't know where he's from, but he builds custom motorcycles and stuff like that. But he built a Honda, I believe it's like a 300 or 350, and he actually turned the head the other way around and he installed the carbs in the front of the motorcycle, which I thought was pretty cool. I'm not sure if they were Mikunis, but he put the carbs in the front. But anyways, there's just a lot of flexibility to what you can do with these carbs since they're just so modular. You know, the choke is integrated here, you have your adjuster here, and everything is really easy to take apart and put back together. Now notice also, this is one of the reasons why I love these carbs, is this bottom screw here. All you have to do is unscrew this one. Gas obviously is going to come out, but that's where your main jet is. And if you clean this periodically, you can actually get away with maybe not having any gunk in your main jet, because you can put your spray bottle, like your carb cleaner, and you can clean that main jet while having it on the bike. Now, I do recommend that you take it off, but in a pinch, if you want to clear that main jet, you can do it through here. Another cool thing is that if you need to make jet sizing, you know, like if you need to change your jets mid-run, let's say for example you're testing your bike and you want to find that perfect main jet, you can just take this off, unscrew the main jet, put your other main jet in, your updated main jet in, and then tighten it up without having to take your whole carb off. You can literally do it on the bike, especially if you have all this space. So I think that's really cool. You know, there's also a pilot jet in here. Now the pilot jet is just the regular pilot jet. You can also unscrew that and put a new one if you need to. But if your carb, like for example, if your bike comes with, you know, this is the actual diameter that you need to kind of measure. If your carb already, or your bike already comes with 32 millimeter openings, then you can assume that you can get a BM32 or a BM30, you know, something similar to that opening, and you are going to be in, you know, a good starting point at that point. And then you can just tune your carb from there. I believe BM30s are pretty much better for 400s. BM32s are for like your 550s, 500s, and then BM34s are for your like 650s and 700, you know, like that range of bike, CCs and bikes. You know, these carbs work great. Now, another cool thing about these slides is that you have your slides right here. Now, these slides right here, they're very easy to work on. So let's say, for example, you wanted to adjust the level of your main jet needle. So all you have to do is just basically pull your spring back, and then there's a little thing in here, like a little retainer clip there. All you have to do is kind of move it off to the side. Here, let me see if I can get a... There we go. So all you have to do is kind of push that up with your needle, that little retainer clip. Oh man, okay. That retainer clip comes up, this one right here, and then your needle comes up with it. And notice your needle, it can be adjusted up or down. So I have mine adjusted at the very bottom. So that means that I let less gas go into the engine, or more gas, I'm sorry, go into the engine when I rev it. That's just so it works for this bike. But again, you can tune this however you feel that the bike works better, that has better throttle response, and you know, you're not leaning out or anything. And so once you adjust it, all you have to do is just put it back into your slide and then put back your clip, your retaining clip in here. Put back your spring and you're ready to go. Super easy. You could probably do this on the side of the road if I'm being completely honest with you. And that's why so many people have decided to go with the VM or the Mikuni brand of carburetors. I just, you know, I love these carburetors. Again, you can make the original ones work. This is not the original one from this bike. You can make this work, but they are constraints, right? So for example, the original ones, these are not the original to this bike, but the original ones are similar to these. They would come in a bracket that goes kind of together here. Let me see if I can put these together. No, but they basically have a bracket that holds them together, and then they go across the bike. And so in order to service them, you have to kind of remove the boots, and it just gets a little trickier to do. And there's linkage, as you can see here. The linkage has to kind of fit together so that when you operate one throttle, the other one opens, or the other, you know, throttle blade opens. So it really is kind of a pain, to be honest. You know, as you can see, there's no way to work on the main jet without having to remove the whole float bowl. Yeah, so let me go ahead and take this one apart so I can show you what's going on in here. I might still have some fuel. So all I'm gonna do is just open this carb up. I've always wanted to like make a t-shirt that says this right here. Hopefully y'all can see that. Maybe not. I'll show you a close-up here. But it says not for aircraft use. And then it has Mikuni. So I always thought that was pretty cool because they always put that on their carbs. Obviously these are meant for motorcycles and small, you know, engines. So yeah. All right, so here we go. Just one more. And I wanted to show you, hopefully this is not too dirty in here. I know I rebuilt these a while ago. Here we go. All right. So let me start by showing you this section here. Now notice how there's no, there's no float that's stuck on here. It's just this little lever here. Now this lever is what opens and closes the needle and seat here to allow for gas to go into the bowls themselves from this inlet here. Now you might be asking yourself, well, where are the floats? Well, the floats are actually in here. As you can see, we have little floats on both sides kind of running up and down, and those are the floats that kind of, these little brackets here, those are the ones that hit on this mechanism here. So when the level goes up, it closes this valve. So I don't know, I think this is a really interesting design, but I'll be honest with you, I like it because each of these floats kind of runs independently. So if you're leaning the bike a little bit and one float goes up, then that's the one that, you know, kind of goes into effect. If you do it the other way, that's the same way that, you know, it works for that float. So I don't know, I really like the design. And of course, in here, right now I have a little bit of gas in there, but in here is that main jet access point. So like I was saying, here you have your main jet and you have this little cover here, but you can take this out while you have it on the bike, which is pretty cool. I really like that design, and yeah. So here we have our pilot jet right here. And if you need to remove that, it's very simple. All you have to do is take this little cover off and then put your screwdriver in there and then remove it from there. Of course, you have some vents over here, pretty much everything that a normal carburetor would have, but very serviceable, you know, very easy to work on. And, you know, I've never really had any issues with it at all. To rebuild this carburetor, anybody will tell you to rebuild a Mikuni carburetor is one of the easiest things you can do. It's super easy, and there's a lot of parts that are available for these carburetors, which is another great thing. So anyways, I just wanted to kind of show you all some of the reasons why I put this carburetor or this style of carburetor on the motorcycle. But to be honest with you, it was mainly because it's easy, it's a very cost-effective way to get your bike running, and I mean, you really can't go bad with a brand that's been doing carbs for such a long time. Now, you know, I really can't say enough great things about these carburetors. You know, they get you down the road. A lot of people on Harleys use them, and one of the reasons why I would recommend this to you is if you're building like a bobber or a chopper or something that you're going to fully customize, and you don't want to have, you know, weird, you know, all this clutter and stuff, and you want to keep things simple, I feel like this is the way to go. You can even customize some of these choke levers here. You can do a lot of things to these. You can use the plunger style chokes. You know, it's a cool product. So anyways, I thought I'd kind of show you how I was able to fit these on my bike and how easy it is to really service them. So to put them back together, all you have to do is put them back like this. One of the cool things also about these carburetors is that they actually come with like it kind of feels like one of those felt gaskets. It doesn't have a rubber gasket like you would find like on your, you know, on your like CB400T or 500 carbs that you kind of have to be aligning and making sure that you don't pinch and stuff like that. This comes with a nice and solid gasket, and it fits perfect on there the first time. So all you have to do is just install it like this, put your bolts back in. And I mean, I'm doing this real time so that you all can see how fast and easy it is to do this. Just go ahead and tighten it up. So these little clips go in the bolts. I didn't put them in there, but I will. I'm gonna take these off anyways and just kind of work on them. But these little holes would go where the bolt goes, and that would hold your little pipe in place. These are breather tubes, I guess you could say, that go down. So they're just kind of meant so you can keep them in place there. All right, but we have that in place. All we have to do is there's a kind of like a slide here, or a crevice here for this little guide in there. So you know that's how it goes. And all you have to do is just slide it in there, pop it in there, adjust it. Now there is a way to sync these carbs. Usually when you sync the carbs, you want to make sure that the bike itself, or the motor, the engine, your internal, so for example your lifters, in this case like your cam for example, is working properly so that you're getting the same compression on both cylinders, so your tuning will go a lot easier, because you don't want to have a cylinder that's bad or is, you know, bad on compression, and then you're wondering why your carburetors aren't syncing up, right? So obviously in a carburetor like this, if you know, when the engine sucks in air, it's sucking in air, usually what happens is that when the engine sucks in the air, the piston kind of sucks it in by pulling down. Now that volume of air goes in there, but when the piston pushes it up and actually compresses that volume of air, then that air might escape through the piston rings, which is called blow-by. And if that blow-by it's a lot, it's a considerable amount, then what happens is that blow-by will go down, and then your cylinder won't have that much air in here. Maybe one will, but the other one won't. And what happens is if you're metering the same amount of gas going in, but you're not holding enough air in here the way it's supposed to, then regardless if your carbs are tuned the same way and have the same jets, your bike is just not gonna run right if the internals of the motor are just not set up correctly. So that's what you have to look out for. So whenever you're installing these carbs and you want to make sure that they're tuned correctly, you have to look at the engine and make sure that the compression levels are pretty much the same, that you don't have any, or that you've adjusted your valves correctly, and everything, all the internals are pretty much ready to go. So as you can see here, I've gone ahead and installed it. All I have to do is tighten this clamp, put my filter back on, and I'm ready to go. So as you can see, it's super simple to install. Now, would I recommend that you spend the money and the effort to rebuild a stock carburetor that looks like this? Maybe. And that's a big maybe. And the reason that's a big maybe is if you're restoring a bike to its original form, in other words, you're doing a full restoration, and I would say definitely use the original carbs. Now, if you're doing a custom build, which, I mean, really this channel is all about, that Honda that we're rebuilding or kind of restoring, that's really not the direction that I like to go in. I like to build things that are kind of unique, you know, and kind of, you know, built with the least amount of money possible. So if I'm going to continue doing that, I'm definitely not going to use these type of carbs. So if that's what you like to do, if you're into restoring bikes, that's fine. That's perfectly fine. You're going to have to learn how these work, and of course, it might take you a little bit longer to source the parts, but ultimately that's you know, that's a proper direction to go in. Now in my case, would I recommend Mikuni carburetors? You betcha. I love Mikuni carburetors, and I'm not sponsored by them or anything like that, but these carbs will surely get you down the road. And if you're looking for something quick and something to get your bike up and running, this is definitely the way to go. So I hope this kind of helps some of you out there. This week is going to be a short video, but I hope you also got, you know, something from it. And if you're out there building a bike and you're not having any luck getting it running, I feel that this is a good way. If you have spark over here, and you know that you have all your ignition working properly, but you just can't get the bike to run, I feel like investing some money into some Mikuni carburetors that fit your bike would be probably one of the best ways that you can go about getting your bike up and running. So I hope that helps somebody out there. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you next week. Hopefully by next week we get all the parts in for the Honda CB400 project, so we can finish that up and get that bike back on the road. And we'll see you next week. Thank you all so much for watching, and keep on wrenching.